DIY.
Jadakiss, what he's saying about the current state of the industry and why labels see a necessity in taking out insurance policies to still profit from the artists in the event that they die. Yeah.
Labels are being successful off nonsense. Somebody went out, did something stupid, recorded a song about it, and was able to get a lot of streams, and that became a thing with the whole drill. And they actually going out, getting active and doing stuff, and then going to the studio and make a song about what they just did. And that should get nipped in the bud as soon as it got created. But nobody's going to these labels saying they wrong for this. We just blaming it on the kids. So like my brother Styles said, he don't like to just put all the blame on these young artists because the radio stations are making them the top songs and the labels are still signing. They're putting out life insurance on these young kids now.
Wow.
The label, because they're gambling on you to do some dumb so they can profit after you die. This is getting ridiculous.
Record labels are getting successful off of nonsense that has been a game that has been here for a very long time that I have always questioned. How does some of this music make it through? And not only how it makes it through, but why did it have an opportunity to become the most popular thing that these labels push? Was that done on purpose? There are many people who feel like these labels profit off of destructive music because these label owners also have investments into the prison industry. What a great deal. I sign you, you problematic artists, to talk about the worst shit possible. And I encourage you to do that because look at the success we're seeing. And then once you influence in whatever way that music can have that influence, because we can't ignore that. We have to take accountability because we're the voices that are doing this. We're the voices behind it. I can say something that can have influence around someone else's decision making, especially when they're younger. And we all know that our brains don't fully develop until we're 25. When they're younger and more impressionable, you know what? I can put my money behind that. That doesn't sound crazy to anybody else. Whose idea was it for that to lead? How do we know that it's a profitable industry unless somebody said, let's try it out? Because hip hop has not always been what it is today. I am not for censorship. I am not for quieting the stories that these artists tell. I know it firsthand from living in some of these neighborhoods. It is nothing to be entertained by. It is nothing that you want to spend the rest of your life profiting off of. Even folks in the dope game don't want to be in the dope game forever because they know that the result of it is either you are going to be dead or in jail. But why is it that you have an entire entity full of suits and ties that continue to say, okay, what you got for me? Oh, that's edgy. Gets the people going. Let's put you in a position where we're not only going to sign you, but let's put you in a position where I'm going to give you more money than you probably ever seen at one point in time, with no direction, no financial literacy, which these people obviously have. They have the companies that are able to put these loans out there. Where do we ask for the responsibility on their end? And I don't want anybody to get the idea that I'm trying to relieve an artist from their responsibility or their accountability, but these are the suits that are supposed to know better. These are the same ones that profit when an artist gets canceled. They get to do a charity tour. They get to do a media run in which they get to parade around their embarrassed artists and make money off of that. They never get criticized for the bullshit that happens with the artist. It's only the artist that takes the brunt of that, and not the person or not the entity that gave them a stage or propelled them on this stage without the proper preparation, without the media training like they used to do before.
Somebody went out, did something stupid, recorded a song about it, and was able to get a lot of streams, and that became a thing with the whole drill. And they actually going out, getting active and doing stuff, and then going to the studio and make a song about what they just did. And that should get nipped in the bud as soon as it got created.
It doesn't get nipped in the bud because when your goal as a label is to profit and you see artists as being disposable, why do you even need to care? I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying, why would they even need to care? There'll be another one of you. How do they know that? Because they've been here for generations after generations. You know, the people that seem like they never die, and I don't wish death on anybody. Execs. It seems like they're around for a very long time. It seems like there's generations of generations of generations that get to live through every era of hip hop as people are dying in the process, as people are making livings for themselves, but as they're still walking around with the target on their back because of the way that they were marketed and the things that were zeroed in on to market. Those folks get to go on with their lives. They get to take their kids to school. It's not a safety risk for them to go to the grocery store. Nobody even knows what these folks look like. But what I'm saying is that when you put people out here and you parade them around and you market them and you do the thing that you're so good at, why don't they feel any level of responsibility for the things that they market? And why wouldn't they feel like they play a role in these artists who crash out? And because they're on a bigger stage, because their name is known by more people, it increases the likelihood that they'll be in situations that will want them to crash out. Why don't they take any kind of responsibility for that? Why is it only prayers and condolences?
But nobody's going to these labels saying they wrong for this. We just blaming it on the kids. So like my brother Styles said, he don't like to just put all the blame on these young artists because the radio stations are making them the top songs and the labels are still signing. They putting out life insurance on these.
I want to get to that last part, but let's talk about this. Isn't it interesting? I don't know how much of my audience, I know majority of my audience is around my age. So you remember this era of time where rappers are being invited on talk shows. There were like BET panels where is music too problematic? Do rappers have more control over people's kids than their actual parents? There was a whole era where they were taking these 20-year-olds, teens at times, and then asking them about their responsibility to raise kids that are not theirs. Their accountability for the lyrics that they put out there. You know who wasn't in them seats? The people who distributed. The people who ultimately profit off of it. And we saw it earlier, the people who profit 88% off of this industry are never in those rooms to defend the art. It's only the people making 12% of the income collectively who face the biggest backlash for their decisions. And I'm not trying to relieve those artists of their responsibility and accountability. Once again, I got to reiterate that. But to give them all of it at the age of 20, when they're still trying to figure out what manhood even means to them, I think it's unfair to put that solely on a young female artist who is pushing sex, but that's what everybody around her and her team is telling her that is required of her and what she needs to do. But when we know that our brains don't fully develop, our logical decision making doesn't fully develop until 25. Think about how many artists make a switch at 25 and they don't do the same shit they did before. Think about Jay-Z. And then even society will come down and say, yeah, these artists knew better, dumbasses. You knew the filth you were putting out there. But nobody talks about the 50 and 60-year-old execs who okay the shit. Why? Shouldn't they really know better? Your brain been developed for damn near 225-year-olds. They don't know no better?
They're gambling on you to do some dumb shit so they can profit after you die. This is getting ridiculous.
So I've heard this before. I heard this years and years before this actual interview came out about the idea of labels taking life insurance on their investment. I even saw some people in his comments who were like, these labels are entitled to that because this is their investment. That's such a way out way of thinking about it. So you're going to give the artists 100% of the blame and you're going to give the labels 0% of the responsibility and then the majority of the money too? If you're an investor and you make a bad investment, who does that fall on? You. That's part of what comes along with making investments into whatever business that you're doing. You run ads and you lose money. Wins and losses. It happens. It's a part of conducting business. But with these labels, they're able to do shit like, I know that you're putting out music that puts your life at risk. But you know what? I think you also can make a whole lot of money off of that music because of what we can provide as a machine and because of where the kids' heads are at these days. I just hope that you understand. They're taking that insurance policy off of you because they're banking on you crashing out. No matter how smart you feel like you are, no matter how seasoned your team is around you, they are banking on you. And they make it very clear by taking out that insurance policy when shit starts getting really, 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 really crazy. If you ever want to see the value of your life to these labels, and I'm not saying that every single one of them are the same. I think that's an ignorant statement to make. But when you're talking about people who are ruthless in business, you want to know how valuable your life is to the person that's getting ready to give you all of that money? I want you to see the next rapper that dies. God forbid, but we know it's going to happen. The next rapper that dies, and I want you to watch how quickly the death marketing rollout occurs. I want you to see how quickly the stadium funeral arrangements are already made. I want you to see how quickly they're marketed on playlists. And that's not to say that that the labels are the big bad wolf. That's to say that they have already created a marketing plan that circulates around your untimely passing, because that's what comes along with the investments in hip hop. So I don't say this to demonize, I say it to bring clarity. If this is what you want, know what you're getting into. If you're walking in here with your heart in your sleeve, make sure you're doing business with people who operate by the same parameters. In the music industry, ain't a whole lot of them. And as you are making music, and this is a part that I know is going to age me and probably create a bit of a divide between my younger audience, but I'm all for free speech. But I also know that when you put words out into the world, you can never take them back. When you put them over a beat and you put that song out there, people can play it as many times as they want to. And when you play something over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's called a mantra. When you listen to something over and over again, it becomes programming. So what do you call it when someone listens to a song? I got murder on my mind. What do you think that's going to do to the subconscious programming? Now, I'm not saying this to point all the blame on the artist once again, because we are in charge of what art we choose to put out there and the words that come out of our mouth. But I don't think it's fair to disproportionately blame these young human beings who have not seen enough life outside of the confines of their neighborhood. I don't think it's fair to give them all the responsibility for the destruction that comes to their life and those around them, while at the same time simultaneously relieving the 50 and 60-year-olds who run these fucking companies. I think that's bullshit. This is the exact reason I push this DIY so much. This is one avenue that I have to potentially speak to someone who might be in one of these offices about to sign their shit away. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.